Alright folks, we are back and flying well. Reading the citations again, just stopped the other videos so that I can kind of break them up for the purposes of loading up to YouTube. We are still on our way to Atlanta Hartsfield International Airport. We departed from Memphis, pretty smooth takeoff. At this point, let's go ahead and check the chart. This is our standard terminal arrival. B-NEIL-1 arrival, and this is RNAV, meaning that our aircraft has several additional distance measuring equipment on board, including GPS, to help us navigate accurately to runways, to VORs, to things of that nature, so the aircraft stays on aerial pathways. We will be transitioning into this standard terminal arrival star via this point here, DVAC, then on to Calico, then on to, looks like VLKNN, could be wrong, it could be a VI, on into this, which is the primary, which is also the name of this star, B-NEIL. I anticipate landing east as we are traveling from the west to the east. So I will set my vertical navigation at 12,000 feet. Hopefully by this point, I am in Atlanta Center's airspace, and they decide to give me some vectors. Otherwise, I am just going to anticipate on coming on down here to hog rain cloud pours on into the runway. 9 left or 9 right. There's also runways 8 left and 8 right, but we'll figure that out. So it gets a little tricky when you're not in controlled airspace. Let's give us a quick peek where we're at. This is us. Here's that aircraft in front of us, and when you know that Atlanta Center, they went offline, so this gray airspace is not being controlled. So hopefully we're just going to assume that it's runway, one of the 9s here. I don't know how long this gentleman, Zach Garrett, will be online to control us, but hopefully he stays on for a few, and we'll come in and land here. Now this gentleman is heading to Atlanta, so let me just take a peek. And I gotta go back and select who he is. November something. Let's see, let's slide it up. So this guy's November 452 SM. 452 SM, and see his heading is 108, so we can only assume that he's landing on a runway 9 as it's just a few degrees off. Heading 108 stands for 108 degrees. I'm assuming the approach to the runway 9 either side is effectively 95 degrees or so. Let's check that out. Let's dispel any myths, any theories, any hypothesis we may have. Here's ILS, who requires runway 9 left. Let's pull this chart up here. What do you know? Approach course is 95. Straight on in. Let's look at the airport chart and see which is more likely for them to use. Usually they're going to use the longer runway for arrival, which I could contradict myself and say they would use it for takeoff, but so here's 9 right. So it looks like he's probably going 9 left. I'm going to use 9 left. Here are the terminals, so I will enter myself here, make a quick left turn to the ramp. I hear my son in the background talking to me. I don't know what he's saying. So I am going to use what we had initially, 9 left. But before we, well actually, yeah, let's pull that up so we can start. I'm going to pull that up and show you why here. So I'm just going to do some pre-planning here. 105, 95, we'll come back to that. I got to plug that into my situation here, but beforehand, we are going to start setting up our vertical navigation. So here I am clicking on VNav, and right now we're going to DVAC, but I want to set it up for our arrival into the area for B-NEIL, so I'm going to click 4. 4. Enter. And as you see, there's no altitude listed in here. So I need to come back here, check my chart really quick, because I want to put an altitude in there. I want to put an altitude in there so that the aircraft knows when the top of descent is. So here it says expect 12,000. So I'm going to put that in there. So we're going to enter here. We're going to enter 12,000. Enter. Calculating for nose down, negative 1,800 feet per minute. Enter. And as you see, we have 21 minutes or 122 nautical miles to top of descent. We can now essentially take our MFD here and increase the range of it. The little circle represented here is our top of descent. Okay? These two are mixed up. The TOD should be closer to the circle, and this waypoint should be closer here. These are not necessarily represented accurately distance just because I have the range of this kicked up to how many feet, you know, so we're looking at like 180 nautical miles out, or it was 160 rather. Okay, no big deal. So we've configured that. Now let me go ahead and get my son's crying in the back. I don't know if you guys are picking that up, but he's throwing a fit. So I'm going to hold this down, and I'm going to set my approach course to 95. I'm going to have to do the same thing on the autopilot, the first officer side. 95, right here. VOR1, I just moved this. 95. So let's get our display back to normal. Now our display is back to normal. Let's also go back. And I'll have to pull this back up, obviously. But I need to see my runway information. And it looks like 110.5 is the frequency that I need to put in to pick up the localizer. So we'll set that. 11050 to give us 110.5. Let's hit enter. Let's enter nav1. Let's double check that again as I'm paranoid. 110.5. 110.5. And let's go here. Enter the same for the first, for the navigation 2. 110.5. Now we need to come over here to the first officer side. So we'll just slide past some views. Just hit Control A. Hope that didn't do anything. So as you can see, the first officer, he's got electrical flaps. I'm going to keep this information down here because it's showing my hydraulics, so on and so forth. I'm thinking about it. Let me turn my landing flaps to 15. But I'm going to change this here so he can see our flight path. I'm going to do so by simply coming down here and clicking that to the left. As you see, he can see what I can see now, and he being me, because I have no first officer, I am the first officer. I'm going to hold this format down just for a hot second. I get it to change this screen. And let me enter course landing 95. Oh, went too many. 95, there it is. So we're going to come back here, of course, hold the format button, and it's back to what we need. So now we have our frequencies set up for landing. Which is a good thing. Let's get back to our flight plan. Now what we're going to do, since we are inbound, we've chosen our runway. Let's double check, make sure nobody else came online. Here we are. Technically, we would still be in Memphis Center's airspace, which we are. This line here. We would be crossing over to Atlanta airspace. Now, the only kicker to this arrival is going to be if we, for whatever reason, land. And see, I still don't have any information on the runway other than what I'm, thinking of my own planning, that it's runway 9 left. The only wrench will be if approach tells us to land somewhere anywhere, but we'll request 9 left anyway, as we didn't have any ATC. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to go to the menu, and I'm going to go, let me just see what the points are here. So I'll talk about Ryan. Alright, so here we go. So we are going to choose 9 left, which is 3. Our star, of course, is Benelli. And we are RWO 9 left, so that's 5 there. The transition. We're going to do an ILS versus a radio navigation. We'll be using a localizer and a glide slope. And we are going to go for Ryan for our arrival. Now, anytime you change this flight plan, it'll end after Calico. So I'm going to come in here and choose the waypoint after Calico to fly to, so our flight plan can continue. So let me go back to the flight plan and fix that up. So we're going to delete that. And then I'm going to come here and make sure there's no redundancies like there is there. So we don't really want the plane to just start arbitrarily circling itself. There's our Ryan. See, we have it here too. So I'm going to have to figure out AK. What is AK? So AK is after Ryan. So Ryan, AK, that's fine. But then we have Ryan here again for whatever reason. Let's get rid of that. And then we have AK again for whatever reason. So we're going to get rid of that. Then we have Harvey, Hartley, Benji, intersection, and then the runway. So we're okay. So 17 is Hartley, perfect, Hartley. So we've got another. This one came up with a lot of redundancies. And there's the runway. So now let's direct. Let's see if we can get away with direct Calco. So I can straighten this flight plan up. There we go. Now what we'll do is we will just see how funky this thing looks. I'm going to go just tap format this time. I'm not going to hold it. And you know what? That also probably is going to make us reconfigure our vertical navigation, which I assumed. And we set its nails what we want. Enter 2000. Back on top of descent 7. 77 miles. That's the only thing that I don't like about this aircraft. That there is a lot of finagling once you are dealing with air traffic control. You don't know exactly where you're coming after the last few points in your arrival, so you can't really plan for it. So now, let me hit format really quick. I don't know if it did it. It doesn't look like it did. Let me tap it again. There we go. Now we can kind of get a look at this mess that we just put into our computer. Our flight management computer, that is. So let me just ease up a little bit so we can kind of see it. Sorry, this is my weather information. See if we can declutter that madness a little bit. Let's decrease the range. There's our top of descent. So it's not too bad. We simply come down to this point here. We're going to take a right turn, come down here, and make our way in. It's looking straight so far, so far so good. And then here's the runway. So I'm probably going to be changing some of these altitudes here. I'm not going to simply stick with those just because they look a little off. The runway line left is higher than I thought. The elevation is 1,000. So as you see here at Ryan, we need to be at 7,000. So I'll make sure that we're at 7,000 for Ryan. And I'll probably do that once we get to our first. We can go ahead and take this off to our first vertically navigated situation. We'll just make sure that I plug in 7,000 for Ryan, assuming I'm pronouncing that correctly. So here we're at 7,000. This lighting, we don't have anything. Let me just go back and check the chart. So here's the lighting. So Binil's here, which we're going to be at 12K. I'm sorry, 12,000 feet, 215 knots. We're going to take lighting and make our way in. Now you see these other different points. So after lighting, we've got Navy and Ryan. And what's funny is that Navy has us here. So this runway here must be set up for one of the 8 runways, because we're coming down here to 9 left. Okay. Yeah, so 8 right, track 183 to Navy. Yeah, let's just Navy. And then a left turn. So it's got us going here, then a left turn here. After Navy and Ryan, here we go. See, there's the 2 runways here, 9595. So we'll make a left turn here, Ryan. So if you read this, we're going left over lighting, track 183 to Navy, at or above 8,000. To cross Navy at or above 8,000, so maybe that'll be the next one. Cross Ryan at or above 7,000, then on track to AK at or above 6,000, which is all here, and it all looks good. 7 is a very instrumental and key altitude because that's where we'll pick up the glide slope. So, if we want to know how long it is until we descent, before I stop this video, before I get into our descent profile, just click VNav. We have 8 minutes, 49.4 nautical miles to top of descent, in which we've set for 12,000. Which, of course, we did that in conjunction with this information. We will, of course, get ourselves down to 7,000 in Ryan is my next one I'm going to pick after that. Right before we take this left turn to 95 degrees and proceed on via the instructions of this chart, which is very helpful. Then it's on into the runway 9 left. We're going to land. We're going to take a left-hand turn into the ramp. Hopefully it's a happy story. Let's check what we got here, and as you can see, it doesn't matter now about the air traffic control because they're no longer online. All these shaded areas are people online that are actually controlling us. So I'm in California, it's 8:03, which makes it 11:03 on the East Coast, and they are definitely on East Coast time, so they probably went to the club at night. At any rate, we don't care because we're going to bring ourselves in. This guy looks like he knows what he's doing. He's tracking right on down. He'll probably come to 9. So we're definitely going to be using our advisory frequency, which we're on right now. So if we click on this, we're set up to transmit and receive on this 122.8 right here, which is our advisory frequencies. And, I'm not even going to check the weather there. Winds are calm. I'm not getting any turbulence. So we'll just go for what we know. So let's go back to our flight plan mode here. I'm going to stop the video. I will start recording another video once we start our wonderful, wonderful descent. We got Calco, which we're approaching. Then we have the VIKNN, which I guess it wasn't a VIKNN after Calco, and then on into the BNIL, in which we will be aiming for our 12,000 altitude at that point. Let me increase that so you can see top of descent again. So after Calco, before we get here, we're going to start our descent.